So I'll show you a project we made in collaboration as part of a project class at university. Um, so basically, the idea is that it's a smart vent which can be installed in any house which has a forced air heating system. Um, so roughly, you'd have one temperature sensor in every room that you want the system to work in, and you'd have smart vents just like this one in every single air vent uh, in which you want the system to be implemented in. So for this demo, I'll show you all well, everything you'll see in this demo um, has been implemented by myself. In well, the project basically the scope of the project was to build an Android app and pair it with sensors. So given that I implemented the whole backend, which includes the database, the web pages, the Java classes that basically talk with the database in both directions. Um, the team basically worked on the user interface in the Android app as well as the temperature sensor. On my end, I basically did the whole iPhone app and I modified an existing air vent, which is not smart in any way. So I made it quote unquote smart by adding a servo motor and a microcontroller that basically connects to the internet. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Um, so as you can see, as soon as we open the app, uh, we're prompt we're prompted with a login screen. So since we don't have an account right just yet, we're just going to create one. Let's call it first name will be user and name. Email will be test user at test.com. The country will be Canada. Since we're in Quebec, let's say Quebec, and I'm in Montreal, so let's just go ahead and type Montreal. The password would be quite simple: 12345, 2345, and the postal code is irrelevant at this point. So let's go ahead and type any postal code and click next. Right, so I use the security question method. In the case that a user would forget his password, it'll prompt you with the question and you'd be asked to answer it. Usually, in this kind of situation, you'd want to send an email to the user so he can basically reset the password from there. But the reason I went that route was because the server is basically within my desktop computer, which doesn't have an email server. So say that the final product would be hosted on a web server, then it would be no issue at all to basically send an email. So anyway, let's go ahead and type the question, which would be question and answer, right? And say I have two stories in the house. Let's go ahead and create the account, right? So here you can see the room list, which is empty right now. So we can add rooms by clicking right here. Let's go ahead and create the living room, right, on floor 1 per se. And all right, I'll go ahead and create kitchen and floor 1 as well. And I can create garage and put it on floor 1, right? So Right. So you can go and create as many rooms as you want. Doesn't matter. So now we have a room list, but we don't have, the rooms don't do anything right now. So if I go to the living room, you'll see that right now there are no temperature sensors nor smart vents detected. So it wants us to go to settings to add the sensors. So we can go to settings, right? So it says no sensors paired. So the idea is that every sensor would have a part number or a device ID. So if I type like, you know, any kind of string of text, it's not going to recognize the device ID. So the IDs basically, or the part numbers, are basically controlled by us. So as soon as we manufacture a sensor, we're going to have to assign it with a part number. So it says, to add a sensor, locate the part number located on the back of the sensor and type it in the box below. So if we take a look at that smart vent, you can see that there's a device ID right here. It's V01. So to pair it with, to pair the living room with this vent, we're going to type V01 and add it. And now it's paired. Now, like I mentioned before, I do not have a temperature sensor here, but I'm just going to add the actual part number of the temperature sensor we have and add it. But since it's not connected to the internet, we're just going to go ahead, because now it's going to show 0 degrees. But I'm just going to manually go into the database and add it manually from there. And it should refresh. So I'm going to put it at like 21 degrees. And in a few seconds, you should see the temperature show right there. The refresh rate is 15 seconds, so it shouldn't be too long. Right, there we go. So now we basically imply that if the current temperature is, in this case, 21 degrees, the idea is that we want to heat the room at, it's going to be hot air that's going to go, and it's going to go, it's going to be pushed out of this vent. So if we want the actual temperature of the room to be, say, 16 degrees, then we want to lower the temperature, so we don't want any hot air going through that vent. So that's why it's closed. But if I want to heat it to, 24 degrees, it's going to open it because it wants to, push hot air in that room, and it's going to close as soon as it reaches 24 degrees. So that's the idea. But also, if I try and pair the actual vent to another room, and I add, say, this particular one, so V01, 01, add sensor, you'll see that there will be no more actuation temperature control in the living room, because a vent or any type of sensor can only be assigned to one room. So it's going to pair automatically. So if you go to settings, you can also delete the sensor by swiping your finger and hitting delete. Or you can also go to the garage and hit delete to delete the room. Say I do it, delete yes. So it's going to delete it. But all right, so let's just go ahead and add the V01 back to the living room. So V01 add, and you'll see that it's no longer going to be in the kitchen, right? So that's the main idea of the project. We can, okay, let's log out, and yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching.